What happens when one of the most fearless drivers of his generation
Look at Montoya! Cracking stuff!
decides he's had enough of Formula One's politics? A man who went wheel to wheel with Michael Schumacher, beat him on track, and then, at the height of his powers, simply walked away. This isn't the story of a driver who wasn't good enough. This is the story of Juan Pablo Montoya, a man who could have been remembered as one of F1's greats, but instead chose to sacrifice his legacy rather than bend to the sport's ruthless politics. Juan Pablo Montoya wasn't your typical Formula One driver. Born in Bogotá, Colombia in 1975, he didn't come from Europe's motorsport aristocracy. He was an outsider in a sport dominated by Europeans. That gave him a different edge. Montoya wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting to put Colombia on the map in modern motorsport. Every overtake, every podium, every radio outburst carried the weight of a nation that had never produced a Formula One champion. And as we'll see, it was that refusal to conform, that fiery independence,
It is! Montoya wins in Italy and Monza!
that would make him a hero on the track and a nightmare for the political world off it. His personality also stood out. Where most drivers polished every word for the media, Montoya was brutally honest and sharp-tongued.
No chance. You know, you gotta either be blind or stupid to not see me, but, you know, it's
Which made him a fan favorite and a headache for team bosses. Montoya started racing karts at just 5 years old. His father, Pablo, who worked as an architect but loved racing, encouraged him from the beginning. Juan's raw talent was clear almost immediately. By his teenage years, he wasn't just winning races in Colombia, he was dominating them. He moved abroad to chase bigger opportunities. After success in Colombia and Mexico, Montoya headed to Europe in the mid-90s to tackle the single-seater ladder. He competed in Formula Vauxhall Lotus in Britain in 1995, finishing third, and then moved into British Formula 3 in 1996. From there, he progressed into International Formula 3000, a brutal proving ground where future F1 stars cut their teeth.
And Juan Pablo Montoya scores a magnificent victory.
Montoya was relentless. He had a reputation for speed, aggression, and fearlessness. In 1998, he clinched the Formula 3000 title, and suddenly the doors of global motorsport were wide open. But rather than heading straight to F1, Montoya went to the US. In 1999, he entered kart and shocked everyone. 7 wins, a rookie champion. A year later, he added the Indy 500 crown.
Juan Montoya wins the 84th running of the Indianapolis 500.
In his first attempt. To put that in perspective, only a handful of drivers in history have won the Indy 500 at their first try. And Montoya didn't just win, he dominated, leading 167 of 200 laps. For American fans, he became an instant superstar. For European scouts, it was the ultimate proof he was ready for Formula One. By the time he arrived in Formula One in 2001, Montoya wasn't just a rookie. He was already a proven champion. Williams gave Montoya his first Formula One seat in 2001, and almost immediately, he delivered results.
How does he pass this mercurial 25-year-old Colombian, the man who came over from America, and absolutely extraordinary performance.
In only his third race, at the 2001 Brazilian Grand Prix, Montoya shocked the paddock with a daring overtake on Michael Schumacher, the reigning world champion, into turn 1. Montoya had drafted Schumacher down the pit straight and launched a fearless move up the inside, taking the lead. For several laps, he stayed ahead before being taken out later by Jos Verstappen while lapping him. The move, though, became one of the defining moments of his rookie season and announced Montoya as a fearless rival unafraid to challenge the very best. It was a statement. Montoya wasn't intimidated by reputations. He was here to fight. By the end of that year, he had claimed his first win at Monza.
Montoya wins in Italy and Monza.
And his reputation as one of the most exciting drivers in F1 was secure. He had everything fans loved: speed, daring overtakes, and absolutely no filter when things didn't go his way. Over the next few seasons, Montoya turned Williams into a genuine threat. In 2003, he was a serious title contender. He won at Monaco and pushed Schumacher and Raikkonen all the way. At one stage, the championship looked within reach, but 2003 also revealed F1's darker side. At the United States Grand Prix in Indianapolis,
Montoya's got away well as well. He's just in front of Michael Schumacher.
Montoya was handed a drive-through penalty after clashing with Rubens Barrichello. The timing could not have been worse. The steward's decision came just as heavy rain began to fall. Forced to delay his switch to wet tires, Montoya felt the penalty ruined his chance of fighting for the title. Many fans and commentators called the decision controversial.
Also, just to add to Montoya's problems, you tell them, James.
I don't believe this. Drive-through penalty for car number 3 for causing a collision. Well, that's what we said.
And Montoya himself was outspoken, insisting he had been treated unfairly and that the championship slipped away because of it. Williams also wasn't a team built for harmony. The management was old school, blunt, and often clashed with their drivers. Patrick Head himself admitted that Montoya erupted in anger over pit strategy during the 2004 French Grand Prix, verbally abusing the team on the radio. An incident Patrick later said pushed Montoya closer to the exit. Frank Williams, meanwhile, was not known for shielding his drivers publicly, preferring to let tensions play out rather than intervene. And then there was Imola, 2004. After a fierce wheel-to-wheel battle with Schumacher, Montoya lashed out in a post-race interview, saying Michael was either blind or stupid.
You know, you gotta either be blind or stupid to not see me, but, you know, it's racing.
It was the kind of brutally honest comment that summed up Montoya perfectly. Fearless against rivals, unfiltered with the media, and unwilling to play the political games that kept other drivers quiet. By the end of 2004, Montoya was done. He had delivered wins, podiums, and raw speed, but felt Williams wasn't giving him the support he needed. He was ready for a new chapter. On paper, McLaren should have been Montoya's golden ticket. Ron Dennis's team had the resources, the engineers, and the pedigree. But McLaren was also a team known for its meticulous attention to image and discipline, and that culture often clashed with Montoya's free-spirited and outspoken approach. In 2005, he won 3 races, including a dramatic victory at Silverstone, but he was overshadowed by his teammate Kimi Räikkönen, who showcased a serious title challenge. 2006 was even worse. A pre-season shoulder injury, which McLaren described as the result of a tennis accident, kept him sidelined for part of the year. The injury was widely reported and later acknowledged by Ron Dennis as a turning point in Montoya's McLaren spell. But the story didn't end there. Rumors swirled that the accident had actually happened on a motorbike, not a tennis court. Montoya firmly denied those claims, sticking to the tennis explanation, while Dennis publicly backed him. Still, the controversy deepened the mistrust between Montoya and the team. When he returned, the results weren't there. The atmosphere at McLaren turned frosty. Every mistake, every clash, every offhand comment seemed to deepen the rift. Montoya didn't help his case either. He openly criticized the car's handling and clashed with engineers over setup direction, often expressing frustration publicly. In a team like McLaren, where discipline and image were paramount, that sort of bluntness was seen as damaging. And then came Indianapolis. At the US Grand Prix, Montoya collided with Räikkönen and triggered a multi-car crash. It was the last straw. Behind the scenes, Montoya had already been exploring options outside F1. Just days after the Indianapolis crash, he stunned the paddock by announcing mid-season that he was leaving McLaren and Formula One to go race in NASCAR. Drivers don't just walk away from McLaren, they don't walk away from Formula One in their prime. But Montoya did. By mid-2006, he was gone. McLaren released him immediately, cutting ties before the season ended. The man who had beaten Schumacher, who had thrilled fans with his audacity, had chosen to leave. For Montoya, F1 had become suffocating. The corporate Polish, the endless PR. It wasn't him. He later explained that F1 no longer excited him, admitting he was bored, and that NASCAR offered him the kind of fresh challenge he still craved in racing. That was the sacrifice. Montoya gave up a shot at becoming one of the sport's statistically great champions. He could have had 20 wins, maybe a title. Instead, he chose freedom. But Montoya didn't disappear. He reinvented himself. He spent years in NASCAR.
Juan Pablo Montoya becomes the next winner,
claiming 2 Cup wins and proving he could adapt to a completely different style of racing. It wasn't as glamorous as Formula One, but it was honest, gritty competition, exactly what he wanted. In 2014, he returned to IndyCar and almost immediately showed he hadn't lost his touch. In 2015,
And the winner of the Indianapolis 500 is Juan Pablo Montoya.
he won the Indy 500 again.
Juan Pablo, it's not the first time you have had that milk, but what a difference.
15 years after his first victory.
Montoya wins the 84th running of the Indianapolis 500.
Few drivers in history have achieved something like that. Even more impressively, Montoya is one of only a handful of drivers to win races in Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and sports cars. Montoya didn't need F1's validation. He proved he could win anywhere. His F1 record reads 94 race starts, 7 wins, 30 podiums, 13 pole positions, 12 fastest laps. Impressive, but not legendary. Not compared to the men he fought against. But here's the truth. Montoya wasn't forgotten because he lacked talent. He was forgotten because he chose to walk away, because he sacrificed the comfort of staying, because he refused to play along. And maybe that's why he's a legend, because he was too uncompromising, too fiery, too true to himself for the politics of Formula One to contain.